It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in.
For those who perhaps they're not familiar with wholesaling or fixing and flipping, could you explain what those two are?
Mhm. So wholesaling, it is the ability to market yourself to a potential seller, and position yourself to them that you will buy their house. Um, this is a short version, to buy their house. Once you're able to talk to them, get an appointment with them, see the house, and negotiate a price that you feel is fair for them to sell it to you, and a price that you know that you can make money on, then you put it under contract for that price. You then go to another buyer, to market the property to them for higher than what you got it under contract for. So if Sam was selling his property and he and I agreed to buy it for 30,000, because I know I can find a buyer for 35, 40,000. So then when I go to my buyer and I say, hey, I got this property, I got this deal, I'm asking 40,000 for it, it's worth 60,000. The buyer's still getting a good deal, the seller got what they wanted, and I can make that $10,000 profit in between the contract price, the original contract price, and what they call the assignment fee that I charge the buyer. So that's wholesaling. You're basically just flipping contracts. You sign a contract with the seller, and then you sign another contract. And this is specific to Detroit. This is how we do it. I know it's a little different in different areas. And then you assign that property to a buyer using a separate contract for a fee, and you collect that fee at closing. So that's wholesaling. And then buying and flipping, that would be where you, in the same instance, say Sam wanted to sell his property for 30, and I know it's worth 100,000 fixed up, but it's going to take 30,000 to fix it up. I go to him. We agree to buy it at 30 grand. I buy it, and then I fix it up. I spend that $30,000. So now I'm all in for 60,000, and then I sell the property for 100,000. And in this case, I make 40,000 instead of the $10,000 margin that I made on wholesaling. So that's really just the difference.
Definitely. So now it's a perfect time to jump into some Q&A. I see we have a question already. But for everyone, if you have questions about like wholesaling, fixing and flipping, or other investing related questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute yourself. And as you drop them in the chat, I'll read them out, and Eric will be able to answer those. So the first question submitted to me, how did you determine the property's value in wholesaling?
Well, you definitely have to know your market and know what homes are selling for in the area. For me, I attached myself to someone that was already doing what I wanted to do. So it was a guy here, he was wholesaling, and I knew he was also a realtor. I was a realtor as well, but I hadn't really practiced anything. So really, I relied on him. I did my own due diligence, but what I used him for was to be able to basically like kind of give me a second opinion on things. So like for my first few deals, I went out on my own, but I would always lean on him to kind of verify what I was thinking. But yeah, I mean, as far as finding the value, again, here in Michigan, Detroit, I get on the MLS and I pull comps for the property. So after talking to the seller and gathering, as much information about the property as I can, I then take that information and I go and I get on the MLS and I search for similar properties and see what they sold for within the last 90 days, 6 months, a year, to get an idea of what people are paying for those houses. And I also want to see what the house looks like, because then that's going to kind of help me determine the rehab value. I mean, what I have to spend in rehab to get to that price point. So that's how I do it. I look at the MLS to see what has sold, to come up with a value to determine where I need to be to purchase the property. And then like the more and more you do it, I don't necessarily have to use the MLS now at this point. Like I've been doing it now as so consistently. Like now, if you give me an address, I can probably tell you what the houses in the area sell for. So you start off not knowing anything. And I always say, try to find someone that you can add value to their situation, that you can benefit from, that they can benefit from you as well. And then you guys just trade you know, whether it's money or knowledge or experience, whatever, you build that relationship up to be able to assist you with what you're trying to do. And then you can also, again, build relationships with realtors and just have them run comps for you if you don't have your license.
Definitely. And this question I have, so what are some challenges that you experienced early on, just as you got your feet wet in wholesaling?
Challenges. I mean, deal flow is always a challenge. So just the amount of deals that you get, and a lot of that is usually directly correlated to your marketing. Obviously in any business, you got to be marketing to build whatever it is that you're trying to do. So for me, I mean, some of it was just capital to be able to market, because some of those marketing strategies cost a lot of money. There's competition somewhat. I don't necessarily look at it like that way, but there are a lot of wholesalers. So you run into just a very, I don't want to say oversaturated. Well, some of it is oversaturated, but there's a lot of people that are doing it. So obviously they might get a deal that you were working on. That's one. For me, I think particular to me, it was just the knowledge side of it. It's like just coming from the city, living in the city and growing up in the neighborhoods that I grew up in. It's not taught to us. It's what I was doing. I couldn't go to my neighbor or a classmate or a family member. Like I literally had to intentionally go and search for people to teach me how to do this or to help me learn how to do this. Like I had Jay Morrison from afar online. But yeah, locally, I didn't have anyone that I could reach out to. So that was like the really the hardest thing. And then just me, just getting out of my own way, just having to unlearn a lot of things that I have been learning growing up to be able to excel in business was probably one of the bigger challenges as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Just unlearning certain things. So when you think about like unlearning things, what are some of those things that you think at that time were holding you back in some ways?
For me, the main thing was just the networking aspect of things. Again, just growing up in the city, you just don't make friends. And I'm sure it's like this across, any inner city in America. You're not looking to make friends with people that you don't know. Usually like that, no new friends, it was real. Like I don't, not knowing someone and putting myself in a position or just being out there with certain people, it could, sometimes it could cost your life. So growing up, I was very like, I'm to myself or the people that I know. I'm not looking to get out into these different circles and meet different people. And that is very counterproductive in business. Like you want to be meeting people, you want to be building these relationships, you want to be open to, having dialogue and talking to people. And that was something that I had to really grasp my head around. Like you're not in the hood, or you're not, this is a different environment. And while I think it does benefit a lot of us that we do come from these environments, once we do get into a space, it's like you got to be able to walk a thin line to say, okay, I need to meet these people, but I also, to protect myself, I got to, have some guard up as well. But yeah, that was probably my biggest challenge, was just being open to meet new people, getting up in front of rooms, announcing who I was, walking up to an individual and just, hey, how you doing? What do you do? Like, just that was not normal for, for me.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's very real, yeah, it's very real. Just like not really, want to talk to like new people, or even sometimes like having imposter syndrome. Like, I know some people in our group, they're very new. Some people are new to real estate, and, at this point, many are at the learning phase. So, I definitely understand. I'm sure they can resonate with that. Just like, you know, the people aspect, and just not feeling 100% comfortable when you're the new,
Yeah,
new person around.
and then it's also like a lack of confidence too. I know for me, because when I did get in those rooms, it's like you hear, you know, or you see certain people interacting, you know, they might have been there before, or they might be new too. It's just they have a completely different personality than you. So they're able to adapt to that quicker than you are. But especially hearing, you know, what this person is doing, that person is doing, and you're coming in and you haven't done anything. And then you add on all the other stuff that you're dealing with, it's very hard to get into those circles and not feel inadequate. And then that kind of just makes you shy away from even pursuing it to begin with. So that was something that, like I say, I had to get out of my own way. And it took me a while to do it. Like I was really like, I would go to those meetings, I would do certain things, then I would fall back because I'm not really trying to do this. Like, I'm not like these people, you know, they've been dealt a different hand, you know, and it was really just excuses that I was making up in my mind. Like I say, so once I got out of my way and really just, you know, locked in and focused on it and just basically I got really comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, and those situations are always uncomfortable, especially starting out. So.
Definitely. I feel like I kind of hijacked the meeting. So yeah, I guess we'll take a pause. If anyone on the line has questions about anything we've discussed or something maybe that we didn't discuss that's on your mind, you can feel free to drop them in the chat to me privately or to the group, or you can unmute yourself and ask something. And also don't feel like you're asking a dumb question. You know, that's the purpose of this, just to make sure you're comfortable and able to ask questions about things you're curious about. So I'll give a second in case there are additional questions. And thank you to those who submitted already. Another question, do you buy and hold?
Yes.
Got it.
That was really that's always been the goal. So I didn't get into it to just wholesale. And I got to credit Jay Morrison for the way he taught it. It was like, all right, you wholesale because it's the lowest barrier of entry. You can get into it with less money than you maybe could trying to buy and flip or buy and hold or getting into commercial. And then, but what you do with that wholesale money is that you build that up to potentially buy and flip. And then once you buy and flip, you build that money up to buy and hold. And then once you buy and hold, you either continue to buy and hold, or maybe you sell up to buy an apartment building. So he really taught it like Monopoly. Like, you know, you get 4 houses, then you get a hotel. And you start by going around the board collecting your money, and then you have enough money to start buying houses, then you have enough money to start buying hotels. So that's how I approached it. I got into wholesale, and I bought the rental first. That was my introduction into real estate. But when I really, really got locked in, it was wholesaling, buying and flipping, and then buying and holding. And that's where I'm at now. I'll still buy and flip, I'll still wholesale, but I'm looking for more rentals, and I'm looking for apartment buildings.
That's good. That's good. How did COVID, or how has COVID impacted your business? Has it been more of the same? Has it gotten better, worse?
Initially, it stalled everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally stalled everything. Just because there was just so much unknown, you know, like sellers. I think I had 1 or 2 properties under contract prior to COVID, and going into COVID, as far as wholesaling, like the properties I had them sold, the buyers backed out because they just didn't know. Well, some of them because of their funding sources, they no longer had the funding sources, because it could have been the stock market, it could have been, you know, whatever it was, but they no longer had the funds to purchase these properties. Others backed out because, again, they just didn't know what was going on, and they didn't want to, I guess, you know, basically, because everyone's thinking at that time, well, I don't know about everybody, but a lot of people are thinking that we're going to have a repeat of like 07, 08, 09, when the housing market just crashed. So a lot of people are like, well, if that's going to happen again, I'm going to wait it out.
Hi everyone, Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Make sure to hit that notification bell and that subscribe button, and to visit us at blackrealestatedialogue.com.